Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I am seriously so thrilled you're here today. We're going to embark on a pretty fascinating journey to completely demystify a role that, quite honestly, sits right at the heart of almost every successful business endeavor. Have you ever looked at a massive, complex project, like, say, launching a new app, or organizing some massive global event, or rolling out a corporate curriculum, and just wondered, how on earth do all those moving pieces actually come together? Well, today we're opening up the orchestrator's blueprint to see exactly what a project manager does on a day-to-day basis.
It's a deceptively simple question, right? What does a project manager actually do? Okay, let's dive into this. Because the reality of this job is often really different from what people on the outside might assume. It's definitely not just sitting in a corner office pointing fingers and barking orders. No way. It's a highly dynamic, incredibly multifaceted role. It beautifully blends those hard, concrete organizational skills with deep human empathy.
To start us off, we've got to debunk a really common myth. When you hear the word manager, it is so easy to immediately picture a traditional boss, right? Someone who dictates your daily schedule, approves your PTO, does your performance reviews, the whole shebang. But the reality is, a project manager is rarely the day-to-day boss of the people on their project team. Instead, they are task managers. Their primary focus is guiding the team, organizing the actual work, holding people accountable for their specific pieces of the puzzle, and really providing that crucial support needed to get those tasks across the finish line.
So, here is our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The project manager's reality. 2. Executing concrete tasks. 3. Mastering interpersonal responsibilities. 4. Leading cross-functional teams. And 5. Critical takeaways.
Starting with number 1, the project manager's reality. And the subtitle really says it all here. You don't have to be the expert.
This is honestly one of the most liberating truths for anyone stepping into project management. Your job is to bring people together, not to be the ultimate subject matter expert in every single aspect of the project. Think of it like organizing a camping trip. Let's say you're planning the trip, but you've literally never been camping before in your life. But your partner grew up spending every single summer by the campfire. They're the expert, right? So your job isn't to spend 10 hours researching tent materials. Your job is to assign the task of picking the tents to your partner, making sure they know the head count, and then just checking in to make sure the tents are actually secured before you hit the road. You aren't doing the expert work. You're managing the overall project tasks to make sure things get done. And it works the exact same way in the workplace.
Moving on to number 2, executing concrete tasks. This is all about planning, organizing, and tracking progress.
So once you know you don't actually have to do the expert work yourself, what are you doing all day? Well, you're utilizing hard skills. You're building out timelines, managing budgets, and knocking down unforeseen barriers. Like if your teammate lacks a software license they need to do their job, you are the one identifying that barrier up front, escalating it, and getting that license secured. And this brilliantly illustrates how it works in the real world. Let's look at an actual example from Google Student Development. A program manager there was tasked with creating a technical curriculum for underrepresented communities. First, they defined the vision. Second, because they were working with 2 totally separate engineering teams, they created distinct project trackers. Third, they actively monitored the timeline, categories of work, and task assignments within those trackers. And fourth, they continually updated their stakeholders. By actively managing these concrete tasks through trackers, they kept tabs on everyone's work and successfully hit their goal with minimal hiccups.
That brings us to number 3, mastering interpersonal responsibilities. These are the crucial behaviors used to interact and lead. Now, spreadsheets alone do not finish projects. Interpersonal behaviors do. We often call these soft skills, but honestly, they are the absolute vital glue that holds all those concrete tasks together. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this quote from the American novelist Louis L'Amour. He wrote, "The only thing that never changes is that everything changes." And man, that is the absolute reality of project work. A massive interpersonal responsibility for a PM is controlling that change. Just imagine a client suddenly demanding a completely new software feature mid-project. You got to remain flexible, sure, but you also have to protect your team from just endless rework. You do that by ensuring stakeholders actually understand how that change impacts the budget and the schedule before your developers even lift a single finger.
Beyond just controlling change, a project manager relies on a whole toolkit of interpersonal skills. Teaching and mentoring are absolutely huge. When you take the time to fully explain expectations, you literally eliminate so much frustration down the line. Building relationships is also essential. Getting to know your team beyond just their employee badge makes everyone so much more invested in the overall success. But I really want to highlight empowering the team. When you delegate responsibilities and actually trust, say, a junior engineer to make an architectural decision, you don't just get a finished task. You get fresh ideas, you get passionate employees, and you build incredibly solution-oriented team members.
Number 4. Leading cross-functional teams. This is unifying diverse expertise toward a common goal. Let's move to and see how this builds.
Right, so in today's highly matrixed corporate environments, you are rarely going to manage a project where everyone sits in the exact same department. You'll be working with people who have totally different backgrounds and completely different leadership structures. To understand these teams, we really need to define the T-shaped professional. These are team members who are incredibly skilled at collaborating across different job functions, so picture that as the horizontal bar of the T. But they also bring their own specific area of deep, specialized expertise to the table, and that's the vertical stem of the T. As a project manager, your ultimate goal is to orchestrate an entire team of these T-shaped professionals.
Managing these super diverse groups requires a really specific approach. To pull it off effectively, you basically have to do 4 things. First, clarify goals, making absolutely sure everyone understands their role and the common objective. Second, get team members with the right skills. Third, measure progress to keep the motivation high. And fourth, recognize efforts.
Let's look a little closer at getting the right skills. Just imagine you are managing the manufacturing of a brand new commercial airplane. You go out and recruit 5 brilliant aeronautical engineers, but 0 mechanics. Well, it kind of doesn't matter how great those engineers are, right? Your cross-functional team is missing a literally critical hands-on element, and that plane is absolutely never leaving the hangar. As the project manager, you are responsible for zooming out, looking at the big picture, and ensuring every single essential skill set is represented on the team.
And look, once you have that perfectly balanced team, you have to execute on recognizing efforts. Now, it is totally human nature to praise the people who are solving the immediate, highly visible problems. A mechanic who fixes a glaring issue on that airplane, they're going to get all the accolades. But what about the finance member who worked tirelessly behind the scenes just to source the funding for those parts? A truly great project manager recognizes all efforts equally. They understand that every single T-shaped professional's contribution is absolutely vital to the common goal, regardless of how visible it is on a daily basis.
Finally, number 5. Critical takeaways. Let's tie it all together.
We've covered a ton of ground today, from the overarching realities all the way down to tactical tracking and everyday human interaction. So the crucial point is this. First, remember your core identity. You are a task manager and a unifier. You're not a direct boss. You guide, you don't dictate. Second, while you absolutely must master concrete tasks like scheduling and budgeting, remember that those tools are pretty useless without the interpersonal trust required to communicate status, control change, and empower your team. And third, when you're dealing with complex cross-functional teams, your success relies entirely on setting crystal clear goals and ensuring you have the right mix of T-shaped, diverse skills in the room.
And that brings us to our final thought. How will you apply these distinct skill sets to organize your very next project? Because look, whether you're officially titled a project manager or you're simply trying to organize that camping trip with your friends, you now have the orchestrator's blueprint. You know how to track the concrete tasks, you know how to leverage your interpersonal skills to protect your team, and you know how to unify cross-functional experts. I strongly encourage you to take these strategies and put them into practice today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep organizing, and I'll catch you next time.